Hello, Leonard. Thank you for taking the time to speak with the blockchain today. Could you briefly introduce your background? How did you first move from traditional finance into the crypto industry? Along this journey, what were some key moments or turning points that stand out to you?
All right. So thank you for inviting me. So obviously, as everyone knows, my name is Leonard. I used to work in traditional finance. I started on my career in an investment bank on the technology side of things. First, I started off building out high frequency trading infrastructure, so like all this colocation setup, market data access. And after around 3 years, I started to move into the software side of things. So I started building risk engines for global equity market. So trading stocks mostly. Um, and I spent around 5, 6 years in the traditional market. Um, and that's when I first had my uh, rodeo in entrepreneurial experiences. Um, so I first started off building a P2P lending platform back in China. That was like all the craze back then. Obviously, that market didn't survive. But throughout that process, I think I first I got like the first try in like working in a startup, like understanding how intense it is, how likely it's gonna fail. But also kind of made me realize that's something I wanted to do. I don't want to go back into working for like a traditional company, like corporate anymore. And I think more importantly, throughout that process, I get to learn about blockchain as a technology. I think I remember back then when I first started, obviously, like everyone, like, I started with investing. Like back then, 2018 around, it was like the ICO boom, and I invested in several projects through ICO. Obviously, make money in the first one, make like 20 times the money, and I thought I was a genius. And then lost all of it, like mostly all of it in the next three ICO. But that got me interested in the technology, and then I started learning about it and started building things on it. I learned about how to build apps on Ethereum. And back then, there was actually still a debate between a permissioned and permissionless blockchain. So I also tried to build something on what was called Hyperledger. That and that yeah, that's like my entire first experience with blockchain. Um, I built I also tried to build like another GameFi project. But then that didn't last for too long. And then that's when I first come into contact with Binance, and they were looking for like a project manager for some of their new product. And then that's when I eventually joined them, and then I spent quite some time with them. And that's, I think, an other moment for me, like seeing how a successful startup works. Like, so that was like before it was a fail experience, right? Now is uh how a successful product market, like how a company can look for product market fit, how to be a really strong team, how to focus on user and generate that positive feedback loop that eventually build into like a very successful company like Binance. I think that was like also a very valuable experience. And I think another moment that kind of changed my career trajectory was um, when I first started using Uniswap and DYDX. I think Uniswap was the moment where, okay, everybody kind of realized, okay, like decentralized trading has a future, because there's been several failed attempts before, but then the AMM kind of changed everything. And then DYDX was the moment where I think at least when I was working for Binance, people realized, okay, this decentralized trading is more likely to become the future than a centralized exchange. And then that's how we like how we got started into building like this like product. Like first started with the Polix and then eventually Atheris and uh, eventually rebranded to Aster today. So I guess that's how it all got started and how like what happened in between and eventually how I got here today.
Interesting. Many people are curious about your relationship with CZ, with BNB Chain and Easy Labs. Could you show more? Could you show how you first connect with CZ and gained his trust? What does the partnership look like today, and on what levels are you currently working together?
So I first come into contact with CC when I was working in finance. Like back then it was not, well, it was a big company, right? It's not like a 20 people startup anymore when I joined it, but still relatively small versus like today's finance. He doesn't work in finance anymore, but back like but back then he was the CEO and there was several projects that like I have to interact with him directly. Um I think like he's a very rational person in my opinion, and he back then he was very hands-on on a lot of the project decisions. So we just like I never felt like he's like a very like he's a very easy person to work with as a boss, as a manager, I would say, because he's very rational. To get his trust, you just have to get things done, show result, and then then everything just happened very naturally, in my opinion. Obviously, he's very intense. But as long as you have a reason on the why you making certain decision, I think is very easy to agree and especially disagree with him, right? Like you easily get his respect if you make your case very clear. We can disagree with each other, but eventually we move on to execute. There's always this emphasis on like getting things done, execute like very quickly, iterate very quickly back then when I was working with him in finance. But then obviously like we went our separate ways. I went on to work on like Aster. He well he has his own journey. Let's put it that way. Um, but then after like Easy Labs is now an investor in Aster, and we haven't actually raised any more fund from outside investors. So he being the major shareholder of like the Easy Lab funds, like obviously he is a big stakeholders in our project. So we do have regular meetings to report to Easy Labs, not just on like how we're doing, also like discuss plans because Easy Labs has a whole portfolio of projects. We're very integrated into the BNB ecosystem, so we like they can also provide ideas and resource on like how we can better integrate, how they see the trends are going, to advise us on like what are the things that we can do, what we should do, or we should stop doing. On a personal level, he's my mentor. I do call like text him and like have regular catch up with him on things like personally and professionally. And then I think he like his he's he's experienced all of this, right? I think one of the things that on a personal level that he helped me a lot is like how to deal with all this attention that's come along with a very successful TGE. I think there are very few people in the planet have that kind of experience. Like Aster's rise recently has been very rapid and uh, especially in terms of like token price and BNB had experienced that, right? And that's why he can give like very good advice to me personally on like how to deal with that like attention, how to convert that attention into something that is beneficial to the project, beneficial to the holders, how to prepare for what might happen in the futures, what are some of the potential risks that comes with like like with such a volatile price on the token, etc. So that's how like we interact. Yeah, and I think he's been a very important advisor for both myself and the project.
Okay, that's a fascinating story. Okay. Next question. How do you plan to compete with Hyperliquid? What are Aster's main strengths or unique advantages in product design, user experiences, or market uh, positioning? How do you define Aster's place within the product space?
Okay, on this question, okay, we could get asked a lot to about Hyperliquid, how do we compare with them, and rightfully so because they are obviously a market leader. I have a lot of respect for them. But I think like PrepDex is too early. We are still relatively small compared to the centralized exchange. We're more likely to get users from uh sex, other sex than DEX. And the market is growing, right? So it's like we can focus a little bit more on like new users that are coming in than to poach user from other perp decks. And I think the market eventually is going to be big enough to have different exchanges uh, that are good at different things, targeting different like specific group of audience. So I think so. I would say instead of like competing directly with Hyperliquid, we take like a little bit different approach in like how we design our services, our product, so that I think result in a little bit less overlap between like the two of us. And so I think first like Hyperliquid focus a little bit more on like their L1 ecosystem. While we actually want to integrate directly with other ecosystem. Uh, so we support multi-chain natively instead of having other chain to bridge the assets to us. And we were more active in like collaborating with like ecosystem project like like Lista, Wi-Fi, etc. So yeah, I think that's like a fundamental difference between us. Um, and also we started off wanting to rebuild the entire uh centralized exchange trading experience on decentralized infrastructure. So while Hyperliquid, like because they are built by like a smaller team that is like probably like more of an expert in perpetual trading, like they're very focused and like specialized in futures trading. We actually started we had like stable coin yield support a long time ago. We launched our spot market and we actually have been rapidly developing that functionality as well. So you can see that we were looking to develop a wider range of product that kind of that is very similar to what people are used to on the centralized exchange. So we're focusing on that trading experience, like full suite trading experience, instead of building like a builder ecosystem, I would say. That like we will eventually get there, but we're not prioritizing that. And I think that's our focus. That's how we want to attract users. Um, Also, I think we have a relatively what I call like a high touch surface compared to other Web3 projects. Um we 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 put people into the community to actively provide like what traditionally might be look at like customer service, like customer experience kind of services. Um a lot of the projects because uh, we were considered decentralized, we don't as actively resolve user problems, but we take a little bit different approach. We go into like the community and try to answer as much question as possible. We have people that like kind of like a representative of us in the community to like scout for all these problems and provide a solution. It's very labor intensive. That's why I think we have a bigger team versus like most of our competitor. But I think that's this like because our philosophy is to provide comparable user experience to like the centralized exchange. And I think customer service has always been something that um that is lacking behind in for centralized exchange. So for decentralized projects. So I think that's an area that we would be spending more resource doubling down. So like we were doing fine before TGE, like but after TGE, because how quickly our user base has expanded, so we're actively hiring. We're trying to hire more people, put them in the community, and maintain that service level that we want to achieve. I think that's how, like, in terms of like trading experience, we're a little bit different versus our competitors. And I think another very important fundamental difference in how or fundamental area that we want to focus on is like we want to focus on like providing a more private solution to decentralized trading. Um, we were building out our own blockchain to host our trade as well. But we want to build it with a privacy option to shield some of the trading information, or at least give that option for the users to shield it, to do to have some sort of privacy, to not give up all the trading signals to the public market. That's a different approach to like most of our competitor, which is basically always making they make their trade always public to everyone. I think we believe that like privacy is a fundamental right, and also by having that option, we would be able to onboard a lot more traditional traders. And currently, there's not a very good solution in the market um, that can host this kind of users. So I think that's an approach that's a direction that we're going towards that I think that's slightly uh, different from like most of our competitor in the market. And we're putting a lot of resources on building out that solution. And hopefully by early next year, like we can roll out a solution that is fundamentally different from what people are seeing on the market, and hopefully can help push the mass adoption of perp DEX in the future. Yeah, I think that's pretty much like the major differences I would say that Aster has compared to most of a competitor both in the sex and the DEX area.
Okay, makes sense. The Aster's S4 airdrop program is currently unveiled. This marks phase 4 of the program. Are there any highlights or special updates you'd like to share with our readers?
Well, I think um it's S4, so we've learned a lot through S1, S0 actually. We start with S0 to S3. We have been updating how we give out points to make it more fair. So going into S4, the rules remain relatively stable. But I think the most exciting thing is that because we have TGE and we want to add more utility to our Aster token. So we have introduced additional point rewards for Aster token holders for this uh, stage. So encourage the community to actively engage in the ecosystem and contribute to the growth of Aster uh, and holding of the Aster token. So I think that's the biggest difference for stage 4.
We saw that Leonard recently unveiled Aster the roadmap. Could you share more details about it?
Okay. In terms of roadmap, I think there are like three major like direction or pillar I would call that we're building around. Um, the first is like infrastructure. So we see ourselves being the infrastructure layer for on-chain DeFi trading in general. So I think on that we are adding more assets, including more uh like real world assets like gold, like stocks, We just listed the gold index, and we're going to add more commodities and stock indexes, and we will continue to promote them and look for solutions to solve one of the more critical problems for this kind of asset, which is liquidity. Um, so that's reward asset, but also we are looking to be a little bit more aggressive in listing early stage assets. I think that's the competitive advantage for prep decks versus like centralized exchanges. So we're looking to partner more with fair launch platform like Four to provide that early liquidity on in an order book system. Right now, it's mostly on an AMM like AMM infrastructure. We want to make that also available on an order book in infrastructure. To do that, we are also like launching our own launch program, Rocket Launch. We'll continue to push that, iterate on that, and make sure that we list high quality assets on our spot side of things. And if well, if any of the listener of this podcast has any good suggestions, feel free to join our Discord and come give us some suggestion on what are the asset that we should be looking for, what are asset that you want to trade, so that we can list things that our user actually are interested in trading. I think in terms of infrastructure, that's the core trading experiences. Uh, in terms of infrastructure, I also mentioned like our privacy focused blockchain. We have been working on that privacy idea for a while. Ever since James Wayne and CZ had that discussion on like PrepDex transparency, we deliver that hidden order features like intent dates, and we have been working on what we believe is very important for the future of PrepDex ever since. So we are constantly working on that, like a privacy focused blockchain. And recently, of course, that has caught fire, the whole privacy narrative with the rise of Zcash. And I think that's kind of further validate that this is the direction that um, we should be heading into. There is a big enough addressable market for that. So we're doubling down on that. We have spent a lot of resource in in building that solution. So hopeful, like, we're targeting Q1 2026 to have that like ready for the public. And we have an aggressive target by end of this year that with complete internal testing and hopefully with some sort of demo or testnet that can give a sneak peek to the public what that can bring to the market. So that's on the infrastructure. And I think next part, since we have TGE, like giving that token value, giving it use cases, increasing its utility is very important. So we have been adding use cases to our token, like VIP tier, fee discount, and we in an upcoming quarter we will add more utility to it. And with our L1 being rolled out, staking will also be a very important use case for it in terms of generating rewards and also protocol governance. And I think once we have staking, it opens up the door for a lot more decentralized governance functionality, which I think is a very important thing for decentralized protocol like us. I think finally is about ecosystem, about partnering with other player in an ecosystem to provide services that that would otherwise be impossible if we're just building ourselves. I mentioned we're working with Four to provide liquidity for like early stage project. I think at the same time we're working with like saving protocols like Lista, Venus to like double down on our earn and trade product, which is which is something that we've been doing quite effectively historically. And I think like user like that function because it improved the capital efficiency, like allowing them to like trade, uh, earn while they trade basically. And for some of the big whales, like institutional users, like even though like it might just be several percentage point in terms of yield because of the size of the trade. It becomes a significant source of income for them. So we will work with ecosystem partner to like further develop functions on that. We are also enhancing our broker program. So I think for a lot of PerpDex, PerpDex protocol, that is brokers or builders that can build on top to build a front end for the project is very important. So we are also perfecting that product. We actually already have a product. It's like we call it a broker system, but then it's not very well advertised. And there's also some like product improvement that we have to work on in terms of making it more accessible for builders. So we will also double down on that and make sure that it's easy for builders to be on top of us to create a front end for us. And I think one area that we found very interesting is AI, because the we get a lot of feedback saying like prep trading is very intimidating for like entry level users because of the leverage, because of the complex strategy that comes along with it. And interestingly, a lot of people suggested that AI can, especially with recent development of like LLM, can like kind of help uh, resolve some of that problem. Obviously, we are not the expert in that, right? So we are not trying to build it ourselves. So we have to work with partners and more and recently more with the community to build something using our infrastructure. So we have started actually like a vibe trading competition where we ask like people to build a like AI front end, like run a model to trade on Aster, and hopefully with that, it can be developed into something that help our user to trade more easily on us. So like by providing that infrastructure for other projects like these like AI builders to build on us, I think it actually opens up a lot of opportunity. So this ecosystem partnership is also like one of the things that we'll be focusing on in the upcoming like 2 quarters. So yeah, these three are the major focus on a product roadmap. I would say in the next 6 months.
Okay. Exciting. The roadmap sounds very ambitious. Have you launched any new products or features recently? If you had to name the three most important things for Aster in the next quarter, what would they be? How will you measure the success of each global?
Okay. I think one of the most recent product launches, the Rocket launch. So this is on our spot side uh, where we provide early liquidity exposure to early stage project. It's a product where we want to create a win-win-win situation for the project, for Aster holders, uh, and also as a platform. So we look for projects that like with high quality products, like a great team, but lack the liquidity to push them to the next stage. And because we are good at doing that, we're good at providing liquidity. Uh, we want to create this environment where uh, our user can actually get early access to an airdrop of this project. We provide a liquidity to make them more successful, and in turn, like our user get more value out of that, like early access to the project. So I think April was the first project that we launched, and it is quite successful in terms of like we generated like over 2 billion in terms of trading volume for them, and then like it got all the attention from the market, and the user who stake Aster and participated in it get a pretty good return on in terms of like in terms of airdrop from the project. And so I think that's one of the highlights of the recent product that we have launched. And the second part of the question is about the three most important things for Aster in the next quarter. I would say like first, like we get a lot of feedback on like our trading experience. I think trading is still the heart and core of our product. So improving that experience through customer, like responding to the customer feedback on the core trading experience. That's like number one. We want to provide the best in class experience in terms of trading. I think the second is to continue to explore new new product features that would generate value for our users. So I think what I mentioned, like listing more RWA, for example, are things that users want to trade and are willing to pay for it is very important because I think uh because you also mentioned how we measure success. I think uh, a successful product would generate value to user while building a business model that can capture that value and redistribute it through a effective tokenomics. I think that's technically how things can work in like in a positive cycle in this in crypto projects. Like often projects kind of like a lot of great projects have one or two of this. Like they have a great product, but then they don't have like a business model that can capture that value, right? Like, collect enough fee, right? Or they have like great product, great business model, but then that they don't have tokenomics that can redistribute that fee to the holders. And because once you have all this to figure out, like your incentive for the builders, for holders, for your users kind of align, right? So I think that's how we see like whether we have succeed in building a project in a product is like you have the product market fit and have the business model to capture that value and have a token tokenomics, like token system that can distribute that fairly to create a flywheel, create like a cycle that would refeed itself. Um, yeah, I think that's how how we look at it. But I think if you need a like a north star metric, I would say to us is mostly about active users and trading volume, because uh, that is like people basically vote with their money, right? So if users are willing to continue to use your product, like pay that fee, then you it's very likely that you have like created a product with product market fit, and also generating value for the users.
Okay. Next question. What do you think DeFi users care about most right now? What makes Aster's approach to community building and user education unique?
Um, I think, well, from personal experience and in interacting with like the community, I think tr like security trust, um, I'd say um operation resilience or consistency is more important. Like because there are just too many rug pulls and scams right now in crypto. And like for even for like really big projects, like you have seen like some fair projects um in stable coins with high TVL, uh, like stable coin are not stable anymore. And if you go back long enough, then you have like this like really bad like famous cases like FTX. Like so, it's just really hard for people to um put trust into your protocol. I think that is the fundamental biggest concern for all DeFi users. Um, so I think there are two dimensions to this problem. One, like are the active scams, right? The people that are actually out there trying to go after people's money, malicious with malicious intent. And I think another thing is about like whether the team is capable and willing to prioritize user, holder, or partner interests. um, it's more about like some team, even with like the best intention, are not capable of like doing proper risk management. And also uh like because there's cycles in this market, right? Whether a team would like give up uh or just like become dormant at the low point of each cycle. I think that's also one of the things that has scared off most of the DeFi users because um yeah, there's just too many example of those. And I think um like for Aster, we I we addressed our problem not through like one specific things, because I think trust is not something that you can kind of just like resolve by providing one features. Even with smart contracts, there are vulnerability that like has not been discovered. And like in terms of willingness to prioritize like user interest, that's not something you can code into like a smart contract. So I think like it takes time for project to build trust, and I think at least for our project, we have been around long enough, and we have proved that even when we pivot, we put user interest, like investor interest, uh, as our top priority. So I think through time, we kind of prove ourselves like we're not a project that would repo. We're not a project that would even give up even through the up and downs of each cycle. So hopefully that carries some weight and let uh, give our users, our potential users, some like trust in us. And I think another thing besides trust, which is like highest priority, is like user experience. I think historically DeFi has been quite I'm talking about 3 years, 4 years ago. Like it has been quite hard to use, and because people are used to a centralized experience, which is superior to a decentralized experience. So the migration to the decentralized world has been relatively slow. I think things have improved a lot. Like if you use PerpDex nowadays, then is very comparable in terms of user experience. When, and even some in some areas superior to centralized exchange. So I think like to reduce friction, like the remaining frictions are like maybe wallet connection, like gas fee, all this like tiny little user experiences friction that users are still experiencing. Uh, it is something that DeFi user care a lot more about, and we as a project is looking to kind of like reduce that so that to make the transition a little bit easier for DeFi user who are more used to a centralized user experience. I think as time move, like as people build trust and migrate to send a decentralized protocol, eventually they will care more about the governance and community and alignment of interest of the project. So I think like how decisions are made, how token holders or community member can participate, how transparent the process are. That's a natural evolution of a DeFi user. They first come for the yield, and then they start caring about the user experience, and eventually they realize, okay, they actually have the power to like shape this decentralized protocol, which is always like I think like like the beauty of a decentralized project. So I think these three things like are the most important things that like a DeFi user would care about at different stage as a DeFi user. So they kind of went from like care about the trust, care about, and then become like more of a user experience advocate, and eventually care about the governance, how transparent the protocol are. So as for Aster, I think we take a like I mentioned previously, we take a more grassroots approach to community building. We send our official team members into like different communities, going through X to like respond directly to user feedback. We want user to feel like they're talking to a real person, not like just some decentralized protocol that would just like outsource everything to like code to like community voting. We actually want to actively engage with our users. We historically have been more active in the Asia side of things. Uh, we are looking to expand our capabilities in the English speaking side of the world. That's why we're actively hiring and hopefully hopefully we can get the community to like, like to communicate more directly with us to feel that that personal touch, the personal warmth that's coming from the team.
Okay. The market hasn't been great lately. Bitcoin and a lot of gold coins have pulled back quite big. What's your outlook for the market going forward?
Oh, that's a tricky question. And first, not financial advice, but I I guess so. I think for most entrepreneur, they are optimists. Um, Me personally is one as well. So I actually don't feel like, and especially because I've been in the like market for so long, right? I actually don't feel like Bitcoin has pulled back a lot. Like in my mind, it's like, oh, it's still above 100K, right? Like, but I understand a lot of people enter recently, and then that's like like a 10-20% pullback. So, um, but if history it's gonna repeat itself. Is like this 20% pullback is nothing for at least for Bitcoin is not. Um, like I don't see how like all the central bank are going to have a way to stop pouring liquidity into the market. And as long as there's liquidity, Bitcoin is the hard like new hard money, and I so it's has a higher probability of achieving a new all-time high basically. As for altcoins, it is really hard to predict the winner because well most the market is already pricing most of the expectation, but in my personal opinion I do think projects or altcoins with a clear path to positive cash flow are more likely to survive, and I think survival is probably the most important thing um for or the most certain thing that can lead to a successful investment, because it's more likely that project that can survive one cycle can re reach their all-time high or have another all-time high in the next cycle. In this cycle, it's hard to predict whether this cycle like is the end of this cycle. If it is not, yeah, like we might see another round of all-time high for all this like all coins in this season. But another way of I think looking at it is like look for projects that are likely to survive one cycle, and like we all see that like narrative kind of rotate, and is it will come back in the next cycle, and uh every cycle we have seen like higher all-time high for projects that have a positive cash flow. So there are several vertical prep decks, like obviously it's one of the vertical that have it has a very high potential of achieving that. I think stablecoin like is also very like like very has very clear path to like a positive cash flow. So these are the obvious one that I think personally think that uh it could survive and likely achieve long-term success. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the market and the altcoins.
Uh, Thank you, Leonard, for sharing this insight with us. It's been very valuable conversation for our readers to better understand Aster. Thanks again. See you.
Thank you.